So, how do you feel? Yeah, this so one thing 2025 is definitely going to do is going to show you us that time is no longer a factor in anything. And of course, for the past 4 years, we have been living in a time warp. Um I've been telling people I just think we're in the upside down, to be honest. I Time is no longer an essential factor in anything, and technology has been introduced in such a way that it has not only manipulated time as we know it, but it has really obliterated it. And of course, we live in captures of, segments of time, days, months, hours, weeks, right? But for what it used to be, it is no longer. And I'm just gonna start this. Of course, the name of the video is 2025, the future of God, the children, and President Trump's AI, because it's really all integrated. And I told you before in a few of my other download or prophetic videos that anytime you see Beyonce, you can take it to the bank that there is something that's getting ready to happen, because she is a living, breathing sigil. She is a walking omen, right? Whether it is to forecast, foretell, or it is a premonition or self fulfilling prophecy that she is representing, you can bet your bottom dollar and your top dollar that she's coming as a symbol. And what other way to do that than to be on a white horse? I don't know. Maybe you've read a book by that name, or you've read some passages in the book of Revelation. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. But this whole download that I received started on December 11th when I was listening to Jay-Z and Beyonce's On the Run Part 2. And in the beginning there's like this weird little, I don't know what the sound is. It's not really an organ. I guess it's some type of computerized sound. And I had an outer body experience. And with that outer body experience, I was not on hallucinogens. I was not on any plant medicine. I was not drinking or anything. Sometimes spirit would just take me out of myself. And I was dancing on this grid. It was like an electric grid that I was dancing on. And that let me know that 2025 is going to be a year of spiritual and mental, uh, I don't want to say warfare, but there's going to be a gameplay. And you're going to have to, in order to really stay grounded, because the year is going to shift very, very fast. And there's going to be many, many things that are going to occur. You really, really, really have to hone in on your discernment. So, this is why I'm sharing this with you. If there's a point to this video, it is that you need to build your intuition. And I mean very, very fast, very, very strong. How can you do that? Well, I would say, first and foremost, try not to be on social media if you don't really have to be. I would limit how much time I'm feeding into technology, because technology is an energy warp, and you feeding yourself into it, you are disconnecting from your the elements within yourself, right? I would say fasting, meditation, sun gazing, because your intuition is really what is at the stake of a lot of the warfare that's going to be going on. You're going to need to learn how to tap into yourself and trust yourself. Now, I've been telling you that for a lot of videos now, that trusting yourself is going to be the key to transitioning through a lot of things that's going to happen. You're going to have to learn how to practice the law of detachment. I'm really putting you on some game right now. And you're also going to need to build a relationship with the dream space. That is very, very important and hypercritical. Okay. So I needed to say all that before I go into anything else because um, with Jay Z being the forerunner of these visions for me, this also came a few days before that accuser, said that some things happened. But with the fact that he was the spearhead to these visions and he calls himself Jehovah, um, I thought, you know what? That's really weird because can you put God on trial? Like, let's just say he does go to trial for whatever accusations, whatever. We're using him as a symbol for my visions, right? Can you put God on trial? What if God has been captured? And I'm not going to say how, but what if God has been captured and now he, it, she, because we don't know what God is, we don't know where God is, we don't know the true element of God, and thank goodness we don't. But what if God is being put on trial? What then happens to the future of your faith? If technology is getting ready to consume, I mean, if you think about it, the market of artificial intelligence has really cornered the matrix. If there's anything that could do it, it is where science is going and how programmable it is. So much so that it is not only a life force of its own, but it is actually a deity. And that made me think of what's the show? American Gods, right? Where there's this spiritual warfare, this end of time warfare that is occurring between the old gods and the new gods. And the old gods are the gods of, human sacrifice, blood sacrifice, worship, prayers, all these things where people would cry out to these deities, cry out to these energies in order to have a response versus the new gods who are technology, media, science, AI, and how people worship through paying attention by not reading, but watching and staying glued to their screens, no matter what the format of the screen. And how the human is conflicted between where they want to give their allegiance to. And it just really made me think, even more so after watching President Trump today get sworn in. First of all, I think that Elon Musk is, so I call him um, Mr. World. So if you got to watch American Gods to know what I'm talking about, but I call him Mr. World. And I'm going to continue to refer to him as such because I think that he is a little bit more than what people are thinking or knowing, but I'll leave that for another discussion. But I do believe that there's an indebtedness that President Trump has made in creating an allegiance with him that he is going to maybe regret. One of the things that I did not want to share was a series of dreams that I was having the last 2 weeks and the first week of 2024 and 2025, where I would hear a woman start screaming with a gut curdling sound. She was saying, the children, where are the children? And she was crying and screaming. And every time she would come in to my dream, there would be hundreds of children they were being escorted to run from one location to another. And it was like somebody was trying to hide them. And these are children that are being looked for currently. However, in the dream, they weren't any they weren't in a location that I could tell you. Like, I couldn't say, oh, they're in Florida or they're in California. I couldn't say that because they weren't on the surface. They were, I'm going to assume they were underground, but there was fire underground. And so I don't know if I want to put this together like one and one says this, but I'm going to say, and I didn't want to say this then because I didn't want to be seen as insensitive, that these California fires may or may not have been hiding something to do with children. Now, when Sinead O'Connor passed away, I told you that there were children that are everywhere, like they're housed places, they're places, and there are going to be children that are going to be released, and people are going to be like, we thought you were dead because it was like 10, 15 years. And then there are going to be children that are going to be trafficked, and there's going to be an exchange, right? And there's been proof and evidence, and this is when I first started this channel, so it's that video is still in the shorts. But in this dream that I had been having for the past few weeks, there was the children were running and screaming because somebody within this nasty pedophilic ring has decided that they no longer want to be a part of it, and they're trying to shuffle the children around so hopefully the children can find their way back home, or somebody can help them. And some of this running around that was happening, I'm going to tell you, was during these California fires. Now, I asked the Spirit, I said, Holy Spirit, what are these fires? Like, what is this fire? What is this fire? And I got the word back, Maui. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. I do think that President Trump is going to try to criminalize some of these corrupt politicians. Some of them. I think what we're looking at is this is a very big game, and none of us really have a point of origin. We're all pawns, and this is very this is a very this is a very dangerous game. This is because it's spiritual. It's siphoning of energy. Blood was shed. Uh and I think that we all have to be very vigilant because this is a part of the spiritual warfare that is at hand. And one of the words that I heard also in the midst of having these dreams, this vision, the whole Jay-Z thing, Beyonce coming out in Houston and all of that, was Machiavelli. And so one of the things that I do know is that when you have enough money, you can do whatever you need to do to get whatever you need done, right? And so one of the things that I want to also be mindful of is that we don't wrestle with flesh and blood, but that we wrestle with principalities in high places. And that we have to be careful, y'all. I'm really trying to be careful with what I say. So yeah, Machiavelli, pseudocide. There's gonna be a lot of different. This is gonna be a real game of magicianry, magic, and you know, you just have to be careful what you're looking at, what direction you're looking at, because they may say, "Hey, look over here." Don't look over there, because what's really going on is not even in that direction. Remember that all the world is a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. Um, you can choose to participate. I would say continue to find light and levity in the things that really matter, because it's about to be a shit show out here. That probably wasn't the holiest way to say that, but it's the truth. Also, is there anything else I need you to know? We are going to be in an augmented reality. There's just no question about that because Mr. World was very excited about going to Mars. And, I think that he thinks that he has God in a corner and that God is scared of him, ultimately. Ultimately, that's what I think. So just be prepared to have your dreams very lucid. Even if you're not a dreamer, messages are going to be coming to you, things are going to be coming to you. I actually think that, you know, people are going to start, I've said this before, start having visions and seeing things. Um, I told you to be on the lookout for Texas. In the Houston, we have a problem video. I also told you in there that, domestic violence would be on the rise. I told you to look out for aliens. And let me say something about the aliens and the UFO situation that I do personally think that there is a parallel something that goes on, but I also know that, trickery and mind games are a thing for those that like to manipulate. So just be careful about, seeing UFOs and what you think are lights and things. It could just be a light show. Um, your mental health. Please be on the lookout for your mental health. This is very uncomfortable for me. For a few reasons. As you can imagine, um, yeah, like I'm a seer, and certain things I just feel like people just shouldn't know. I just don't think everybody should know certain things. And because what are you going to do with the information? What are you going to do with the information? What value really am I bringing to you, besides telling you, hey, Spirit wants you to be prepared? Do not live in fear. Live in a mindset of strategy and preparedness that at any moment you may need to give up what you have in order to maintain your freedom, to go where you need to go. Um, to be emotionally detached from what's going on in this world. Sometimes you're going to have to really just sink into what you feel, and go with that because there's protection in that. Otherwise, I don't think that there are too many people that are aware just how much power the human collective has. I'm telling you in 2025 that community is going to be important, that your spirituality is going to be important, and that your intuition is going to be the primary source for how you get through this year. And you need to maintain your mental health through as many avenues as possible. So let me go ahead and conclude because I don't want to further waste your time. But I wanted to say two more things, right? How I can confirm that spirituality and technology are going to be the forefront of many different things that are getting ready to occur is because Windows has a new program called, or is it a program or a laptop? I don't know which one it's called, but Omen transcend, and we know that omens are spiritual signs, to either put us on alert for what is coming, right, as a warning, or um, as congratulatory markers for our transcendence. So I thought that was really, really interesting that they would have a program called Omen Transcend. That in and of itself is an omen for people like me. And then there's an open source business app called Odoo, Odoo. And I thought that that was really interesting because within a certain African traditional religion, part of the oracle system, and it's part of the path that I'm on, a part of the oracle system that we use is called Odoo, and it's spelled ODU. And it is essentially the birthing place of our destiny, essentially. It is the place where we connect with the divine, uh, about what we are doing on our path, if we are following the correct markers, omens, to lead us on the most healthy line of our destiny. And I thought that was very interesting that there's a system called Odoo. So that was confirmation for me that yes, spirituality and technology are about to collide in a way that they haven't. And this is why I really brought this up. Like, what's going to happen to God? What's the future of God? Because religion is not going to be what it used to be. You see, the church is losing not only members but losing more credibility, unfortunately, than it ever has. That's for all the Abrahamic religions. Um, and people are really starting to go within. They are really starting to look for those omens. They are really starting to look for these open sources within themselves to get to the source of divinity. And I personally can't wait to see what's going to happen. um we all have our own paths to take, and ultimately, it's up for you to decide, like, is this a warning? Like, is this chick just running her mouth? Like, we haven't seen her in a while, she's kind of cute with the bangs. Like, ultimately, I know what I have to do and what I'm going to do, but I think that spirit impressed it on me to share, because there are people that sometimes need a little bit of a nudge through confirmation to say, look, you're not crazy. Like, nah, there's some real things happening. The facade is disintegrating, and what we knew life as or was is no longer. And it's actually rerouting itself back to what is primal, what is raw nature. And we are going to have to use our intuition and our hands, our gifts, in order to be stabilized as this collapse really continues to happen, right? Um, so I'm sure this conversation will further itself. I hope that what I said was of assistance. I do not, again, like to just put information out there because everybody talks about it. That's not my thing. I don't like that. But I will end with this from American Gods. Speaking of Mr. World, this is what he said. Please check out that show. They canceled it too soon. It was a really good show. Okay. And Orlando Jones. Okay. Mr. Nancy. Yes. All right. Mr. World says this: people think it's the age of technology. They are wrong. It's the age of manipulation.